For a while now, YouTube's been pretty much crowding all of my mind space, and it's like all I think about. So in order to avoid rambling on forever, I decided to recruit a few folks who also thought that way, but had a better way of talking. They are Kevin from GCKW, Mike from Vloggin' Egan, Tim from Tim's Vlogs, and Michael from Mikola. I'm just going to jump right into it and try to make it flow as smoothly as possible. So to start it off, what do you think YouTube's role should be with the content creator?
I think that YouTube should be part of the content creator because YouTube needs people to be making content for them to actually have like a successful site.
But should it be their responsibility?
I'm not sure it's their responsibility, but they do have an interest in it. I think a strong business interest in nurturing talent. Like anybody in any branch of show business, you have to balance how much you focus on finding the stars of tomorrow versus milking the stars you already have for everything they're worth.
Why should discovery be at all important to YouTube anyway?
Because that's about creating a level playing field and making sure that they don't prioritize any type of content or content creators over any others, and just making sure that it is an open sandbox of creation, if you will. Anyone can upload a video, anyone can find and watch your video. That's what YouTube is, that's what they do, and they do it well. And I think it would be just terribly disruptive. I think it would be bad for the content creators, and it would be bad for YouTube to disrupt that system.
What about then maintaining the talent that's already there?
It's important that they do have a system in place, and they do have a lot of programs reaching out to smaller time content creators, and I think they definitely have a responsibility to continue to help people maintain their brand or their ability to create great content for YouTube. It's in their best interest to help content creators create good content for them.
Why exactly would it be in their best interest? Like, from a business perspective, what would YouTube's responsibility be?
YouTube's responsibility is to drive ad traffic, and the way that they can do that is by getting viewers.
Then from a business perspective, again, wouldn't it just be in YouTube's best interest to get as much content as possible monetized on the site?
It's in YouTube's best interest to encourage as much content to be made as possible, but it is just as much in their interest to curate the best content so that when a viewer goes to the site, they're able to find stuff that will keep them there.
Why should it matter to me whether or not YouTube thinks what I make is good? I know it is.
If you are someone who's putting out content that people aren't watching, if that content starts to flood the site and people stop watching YouTube because they can't find the good content that they want to watch, it's going to be a problem for you as a creator.
It seems to me that it is in YouTube's best interest, and it is their responsibility to both find and maintain the best content on the website. However, their definition of best content is more like what brings the most viewers in and what can make us the most money using ads. So that kind of leaves the rest of us hanging dry. But that's where YouTube networks come in. So I asked the gang, what do you think of YouTube networks?
See, I have mixed feelings about networks. I think they're inevitable. The benefits they offer to creators in maximizing revenue are irresistible. And I think creators like to create, and they would love someone else to take care of the business side, finding sponsors, promotion. So there are lots of benefits in pooling resources, but the downside, in my opinion, is networks seem to encourage a lot of formulaic videos I have no interest in watching.
Before you get into that, though, I want to know what kind of person would best benefit from the good stuff you were just saying.
If you have a huge subscriber base to bring to a network, I think they'll do you a lot of good. They can bring a lot of resources to what you're doing and multiply it. But I'm still looking for success stories of people who have had modest followings that have been really helped by networks. Do you know of any?
No, I don't. That really makes me wonder, are YouTube networks a step in the right direction?
I think that YouTube networks are a step in the right direction, partly because like my network, for example, is running a promotion where they're paying a certain amount of money per 1,000 views for you to promote a smaller YouTuber. The YouTuber I'm talking about has only like 800 subscribers. As far as networks, my network I think is doing it right, and I'm proud to be a part of Fullscreen.
Oh, well, that does seem pretty promising that there's a YouTube network out there that's trying to promote the smaller folks. But, alright, Mikola, I know you've been waiting. What is it that you don't like about networks?
I mean, there are two things I don't like about networks. One is the trap of being Junior League TV, formulas, cranking it out. I just don't watch that stuff. My second problem with networks isn't limited to networks. It happens a lot, and it happens especially with networks because they get so much sponsorship. and they aren't very transparent about sponsorship. I don't think YouTubers in general have developed good ethics about telling you when they are being paid to pimp a product. Some do, but all in all, I find it a little sleazy.
Huh. Well then, it seems to me that YouTube networks might not be the best for innovation in new media. I'm not sure. I'm not sold on this. Kevin, what do you think?
When it comes to YouTube networks, I think it's too early to tell, especially with the steps that a lot of them have been making. Obviously, Awesomeness TV came in and started signing a whole bunch of people, and it seems to have kind of scared off a few of the other networks. RPM has recently dropped their standards. Full Screen is approaching people with lower thresholds. Really, the need that they serve now is that they can sell advertising to their partners, and it outsources some of the work that Google would otherwise have to do in trying to sell those ads, which is great. I mean, it can mean more money for creators. I don't think that's necessarily what TV networks do, because TV networks are in the position of having to pay to create content, and there doesn't seem to be any shortage of partners that are looking to sign up with networks.
With that in mind, then, are YouTube networks a step forward with the innovation of new media, or are they more like a step backward toward the old media standards?
They're a bit of both a step forward, they're a bit progressive, and they are sort of a bit of the old model that we've seen on television. It's progressive because they are these small up-and-coming things, and they're making the kind of content they want. You know, you can't put a 3.5-minute sketch comedy thing on TV.
Then by default, it seems like the stuff YouTube networks are doing are, by definition, progressive.
I think some of the bigger channels and networks that we're seeing emerge on YouTube, or consistent shows that we're seeing on YouTube, are progressive because they're not bound by anyone, and they can be like crowdfunded and stuff. So they are progressive, but they are still a bit of the old model just because of the way they're presenting content, in that this show is on this day, this show is on this day, and it's all here on our network.
More specifically, what do you think makes them fall into these sort of old media standards?
Just the fact that they are networks. Like, they're saying, this is our lineup, this is what we're producing. But really, that's not a bad thing. In some ways, when you want to manage a large amount of content, and you're saying these are, like, the multiple shows is what we want to do, that's really the only way, or maybe the best way, to present that. And on YouTube, that comes in the form of having a channel. They're called YouTube channels. That word is from television, but it makes sense if you want to be a network and you want to pump out a lot of web shows.
Seems like the jury's still out on YouTube networks then. But it seems to me, based on everything that I've heard today, YouTube networks with the best intentions, where they are equally helping all of their members regardless of subscriber size, are definitely a good thing and can only help. I'm sure what's happening now is pretty similar to what happened when television first started and the networks were coming out and trying to get stuff going then. Really though, I'm not sold on any one opinion, but I am curious to see, going forward, what's going to happen. Okay. Enough about analyzing YouTube and networks and all that. The last question that I asked these guys was, what would you have to say to aspiring content creators that are also interested in vlogging?
Stop what you're doing. Get out. Don't upload any videos. I don't need the competition. I'm sorry. That was my evil twin. The views expressed by Evil Migala are not those of the management.
The way that YouTube works right now is with the audience is that you need to look directly at the lens. You do need to have as good of eye contact as possible, where that's not the same with a lot of other types of media.
Stand close to the mic, be a ruthless editor, just keep cutting away the bad stuff, let the good stuff shine. Watch everything you make, critique it, find ways to make it better.
It's important that you make crap, because you will see it and you'll say, hey, this is pretty bad, and then you'll make another thing and you'll say, hey, I'm not going to do all that stuff I did wrong in the other thing, and you'll just keep building upon that. And eventually you'll reach a point where you know what you're doing, you've locked down a workflow or a system by which you create all this better content, and your stuff will be better for it.
Try to commit to putting up a video once a week. The first video is going to be just for you. It's going to be terrible, and that's fine, and everyone expects it to be terrible. In fact, most people aren't going to see it anyway. And the few people that do see it will see it years and years down the road when you're famous. That whole process is just getting used to talking to a camera, getting used to speaking out loud, learning what the process of editing is, and just enjoying the experience of creating something. And when you're done with it, you have to upload it, because if you don't, it'll be an unfinished product in your mind.
2 rules. Get started, keep at it.
Make stuff, and don't be afraid to make stuff. Don't be afraid that your stuff is going to be bad, because it is, and that's okay. It's not going to look great or sound great or be that great or necessarily interesting when you start out. But if you find out that this could maybe be a thing that you can build on, then that's great, and you can build to a point that you're happy with, and that where you're churning out some great content. So the first step of that, and the most important step, is just to do it. That's my advice. Just do it.
Try it for at least a month. So do 4 videos once a week, and then at the end of that, you can decide whether or not you like it, because there's going to be some times where you feel like it's a miserable experience. That's part of that is just the learning curve. There are going to be some times where you feel like it's a great experience. Part of that is just the high of making videos. But make sure that you do it for long enough that when you decide whether you want to commit to something a bit more regular or less regular, or whatever it is you want to do, you're coming at it from an informed perspective.
Make stuff that makes you happy. If you're having a good time making videos, that's all that matters.
YouTube is about personality. It's not about production value. It's not about editing. It's not about content even. It's a matter of the audience wanting to get to know you. So just be honest.
Wow. That advice was gold, like pure gold. It was sage advice, and my advice would be to take all of their advice. Use everything they said, because to me, right now, it sounded genius. But I get off track here. Honestly, thank you guys so much, all 4 of you, for agreeing to collaborate with me on this today. It's some of the richest and most thoughtful content that I've ever been a part of making, and I really appreciate it. If the viewers, whoever's watching this, would like to continue the conversation, please, I encourage you to leave video responses, especially if you don't agree. I like to see that stuff. And maybe on a future VEDA video, or just a video on my channel any time of the year, I'll put it together and we'll talk about it again. And I would like to add that I do want to talk to more types of people about these kind of things, change the questions just a little bit. So if you know of any gaming channels or beauty gurus that are interested in talking about YouTube, please send them my way. Other than that, have a good one.
VEDA.